Hey guys, hope you are having a great day today. I am Redbird Prangle, and I would love to formally introduce to you Redbird Fantasy. This is going to be your choice of channel for all things fantasy, and we might even dabble with some daily fantasy sports. If you're into DraftKings, if you like a little bit of sports bet talk, this is your place. Welcome to Redbird Fantasy. I hope you enjoy what you're watching. If you do, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, let us know what you want to see, what questions you guys have, and we would be more than happy to help you out. So without further ado, I would love to get into Prangle's picks for Week 13, where the New Orleans Saints are traveling to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints will be a 3-point favorite going into the Falcons. This is a divisional game that has playoff implications for the New Orleans Saints, as they are vying for a top spot, chasing that coveted bye that only the 1 seed receives this year. Some concerns I have for this game are Taysom Hill. He has extreme restrictions when he throws the ball. He just doesn't seem to be a natural thrower of the ball, which is really limiting the fantasy potential of his playmakers. We know Taysom Hill can run. We know that they're designing runs to get him in positions to score like he has the past few weeks. But Atlanta boasts a quite impressive run defense. Over the last 4 weeks, they are the 3rd best team against the run. Because of that, do we do the unthinkable here? Do we bench Alvin Kamara? I know. It's crazy, right? We draft him 4th overall. We think he's a slam dunk all year. He's been a stud. But these last 2 weeks, I do not think that you feel that way. Taysom Hill is not throwing the ball well enough to him to feel good about it. And frankly, he's also been game scripted out of these positions for him to explode. Last week against the Broncos, we knew the Saints were going to win that game. And so who'd they give the ball to? Latavius Murray. But in a game against the Falcons, Alvin Kamara is just not receiving the targets that he did throughout the season with Drew Brees at the helm. In fact, he's only gotten 3 targets over the last 2 games. As we know, we love a lot of targets to our running backs because that gives us a high floor in a point per reception league. So if it's me, I might consider putting Alvin Kamara on the bench. This Falcons defense contains the run extremely well. That is the one bright spot in this Falcons defense. Over the last 4 weeks, they're the number 3 defense stopping the run. That brings me to my last point. Todd Gurley. Is he going to play? I don't know. He sat out last week along with Julio, and the Atlanta offense flourished against a Raiders defense that was showing signs of life, but the Falcons picked him apart. If Todd Gurley is geared up and ready to go, I still don't know if I trust to play him. I don't know if there is a Atlanta running back that's worthy of a starting lineup spot. The New Orleans Saints boast the top run defense. So even if Todd Gurley does lace up his shoes, I do not think he's worthy of a start. As we know, he is extremely touchdown dependent, and this New Orleans Saints defense is not going to give him a lot of looks. The next game I want to talk about is the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are an 11-point overdog as the home field favorite. And there's a few things that we should really feel good about with the Bengals coming into town. Is it back to Tua time? Brian Flores stated, if Tua is healthy, he is our guy. He is our starter. That is a sign that should make Dolphins fans rejoice. Tua is the future. He won 3 games in a row as a starter. That's something that has to give you something to feel good about. Granted, this Dolphins team is based solely on the defense and the special teams, but still, you want to give your rookie reps and lots of different looks. So if Tua is good to go, you have to feel good about him being a game manager for this Dolphins team. And how he can do that is by handing it off to his running back 1, Myles Gaskin. Where did this guy come from? If you picked up Myles Gaskin off the waiver wire, you are a happy camper. I know he's been on IR the last few weeks, but Myles Gaskin has running back 1 potential when healthy. He is given all the touches out of the backfield and is even getting some reception work. The last thing I wanted to talk about with the Bengals is a question that few people have brought up. Can you trust any of the Cincinnati receivers now that Joe Burrow is down? My answer? No. Joe Burrow was throwing the ball upwards of 50 times. That was giving so many targets to AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. I don't know if we see that kind of gunslinger mindset anymore out of this Bengals team, who is truthfully just looking to end out the year, get another high draft pick, hopefully build up a line to protect Joe Burrow. But I do not think that you can feel good about starting any Cincinnati wide receiver against the Dolphins. Our next game has the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling up to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The Vikings are in a dream situation with this game. If you are a fantasy manager and have any of the Vikings playmakers, you are starting them and you are going to see sparks fly on Sunday. Adam Thielen just got activated off the COVID list, so he is good to go for Sunday. And Justin Jefferson could be the rookie of the year. Both of these guys are putting up amazing numbers. Adam Thielen has been more of the red zone threat, while Justin Jefferson keeps piling up catches and 100-yard games. These are both a slam dunk on Sunday. Another slam dunk is Dalvin Cook. We all know who Dalvin Cook is. We know what he's capable of. He's capable of a 40, 50-point game in the right situation. I think this situation could be this week against the Jaguars defense, who is abysmal. This Jacksonville Jaguars defense is absolutely terrible. They are giving up so many points to every single position that any player that you have for the Vikings, you are starting them, and you are hoping that they carry you into a first-round bye in the playoffs. Are there any players on Jacksonville worth starting? Probably not, except for one, and that's James Robinson, the undrafted free agent who has came out of nowhere and topped the charts in so many categories. He may go down as one of the best undrafted free agents, I'd say at least 20 years. If you picked up James Robinson on the wire this year, you are probably in the playoffs. You have a running back one who cost you nothing to get. And that's the one bright spot of this Jacksonville team looking to the future. Are the wide receivers in a position to go off here? Yeah. The Vikings defense is just not what it used to be. Xavier Rhodes, gone. Harrison Smith is just not the player that he used to be. If you are desperate for a start, you may look for a Jacksonville wide receiver. Do we know which one? No, we do not. With DJ Chark out of the picture, his targets are being dispersed to many, many people. Our next game has the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the New York Jets, the winless Jets. They are pitiful. They are disgusting. But last week, the Raiders got embarrassed by an Atlanta Falcons team. Could we see that happen again? Someone who needs to step up for the Las Vegas Raiders is Darren Waller. Is he ready to be the baller that he has been accustomed to this year? I sure hope so. He is a tight end 2 on the year. There has been very few weeks that we have been disappointed with Waller until last week. But frankly, a lot of that can come down to Derek Carr and his inability to get the passes off. I really look forward to this week to be a bounce back week for all the Raiders that we can find. Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. For the Jets, Denzel Mims is a name that you might not have heard. And you might not see it because no one watches the Jets games. So who's Denzel Mims? Denzel Mims is the New York Jets' second-round pick who is starting to eat all of the targets up from our old trusty and old faithful Jamison Crowder. So Denzel Mims is someone that I'm looking forward to next year once he builds up rapport with Sam Darnold or whatever QB that the New York Jets may bring in, Trevor Lawrence. So look for Denzel Mims on your radar next year. I do not think he is in a position to be a starter this year. I just wanted to throw him out there because he is starting to get the targets that you would expect a first-year wide receiver to get. Now, are you going to call me stupid for this take? Yeah, maybe. But I think if there's a week for this New York Jets team to take a W, it's this one. And here's why. The Jets defense has a QB pressure rate of over 33%. Now, why is that relevant? The Las Vegas Raiders and Derek Carr struggle to put together solid games when under pressure. So it sounds like a recipe for disaster if the New York Jets team can get ahead early in this game and blitz Derek Carr and cause him to make more mistakes, similar to what we saw against the Falcons last week. Our fifth game to discuss has the Indianapolis Colts coming down to Houston to take on the Houston Texans. Now, the Houston Texans are hurting right now. Will Fuller is suspended for the rest of the season, along with Bradley Roby, their top cornerback of the year. So what kind of fantasy implications does Will Fuller's suspension have? Well, first off, Will Fuller has been Deshaun's favorite target this year. He has consistently shown that he can be a wide receiver one when healthy. Deshaun Watson, on games that don't have Will Fuller, has less yards per attempt, less yards per game, less touchdowns per game. So with Will Fuller being out, look for a slight regression in Deshaun Watson as a thrower of the football. Now, the guys that could step up in Will Fuller's absence are the names of Brandon Cooks and Duke Johnson. These are guys that Deshaun Watson has grown accustomed to throwing to this year. Duke Johnson's targets went up any game that Will Fuller was out last year. So I would expect to see that same progression happen this year. For the Colts, Michael Pittman Jr., who is a rookie wide receiver, or is it Sitman Jr.? Should we be sitting Michael Pittman Jr.? The answer is it depends on what you have on the bench. Do you have a wide receiver that is guaranteed 6 to 8 targets? Because Michael Pittman has become that guy for Phillip Rivers. He's gained that confidence. He's had that rapport. The stat lines do not show the potential that Michael Pittman has. Last week, he went 2 for 28, but that doesn't show that he had 8 targets go his way. Whenever you're looking at high upside guys, you need to be looking at targets, touches of the football. If you're playing in a full PPR league, then Michael Pittman is a guy that you could maybe buy low on or could even find on the waiver wire and help you on one of these later week matchups when he starts to really pick up steam. Now, as we know, the Indianapolis Colts boast one of the best offensive lines in the league. So can we trust the running back situation this week? The answer is yes. Jonathan Taylor has been cleared off the COVID close contact list, so he should be starting this week if there are no setbacks. Jonathan Taylor has shown when he is given the touches in this backfield, he can have glimpses of greatness like they expected to get when they drafted him. If Jonathan Taylor were to not go this week, then Nyheim Hines is a slam dunk play against the Houston Texans team who is susceptible to the run. They are the league's second to worst run defense in the league to fantasy running backs. Yikes. Our next game brings us to the Denver Broncos taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in a divisional matchup where the Chiefs are heavily favored to win this matchup. We don't need to look too much into this game. I think this is going to be a standard Chiefs game where they win by a touchdown or two. We see Travis Kelce getting his typical 8 to 12 targets. We could see him fall into the end zone a few times. We see Tyreek Hill blowing the top off of defense, going for one long touchdown and maybe 6 passes underneath and call it a day. Now, I do have one concern, not for this week, but for the rest of the season. The Chiefs' defense over the last 4 weeks are ranked outside the top 20 in all 4 categories of fantasy points given up. Is this a trend that we could see continue into the playoffs? I hope not, and Chiefs fans are hoping not, because this is that point of the year last year when the Chiefs really started to turn it on, and their defense, not their offense, was starting to get them through games and capped off that amazing Super Bowl run. Now, as we look ahead to one of the more intriguing matchups of the week, we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Tennessee Titans in an AFC matchup where both teams are looking for playoff spots. This is a game where we are going to see Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt continue as running back ones for their team. If you have either of these guys on your roster, you are starting them 100% and feeling great about it. Both of them get enough usage and goal line touches to make them both viable as your top running back for the rest of the season. As we know, the Browns run the ball more than almost any team in the league. So can Baker Mayfield show and prove that he is worthy of that first overall pick? I think this is the week that he can do it. If the Browns can get the running game established, this opens up Kevin Stefanski's playbook for their play action passes that Baker Mayfield has shown great ability on. This could be one of the higher scoring games on the week, even though it might not look it. This Browns team is poised to push themselves to 9-3 on the year with a win. And with the Ravens sitting at 6-5 after their loss on Wednesday football, this Browns team is going to solidify a playoff spot. On the other side of the ball, the Tennessee Titans are looking like strong leaders in the division for the AFC South. This could be a game where if they win it, they are going to run away with it, and they are going to be the top dog from the AFC South, and the Colts have no chance of catching them. And do we know why the Titans are winning all these games? If you don't know, then you're blind, because it is Derrick Henry. He is the king of fantasy football. Derrick Henry is a dream running back for a team that loves to run the ball. He is a power running back who will not go down at first contact. While he lacks the upside because of his lackluster receiving role, one of his touchdowns this week was actually a pass out of the backfield. That's a great sign. Even if Derrick Henry can get 1 or 2 targets, those are 1 or 2 targets that we weren't getting in the past. So we all know his ability on the ground, and against a Cleveland Browns defense that is getting Myles Garrett back, I would love to see the Titans continue their run-heavy game, run it right at Myles Garrett, force him to stop the run, and then sell out to Ryan Tannehill to throw some dimes to A.J. Brown. Our next game is the Buffalo Bills traveling to Arizona to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Remember, the 49ers are no longer playing in their state or stadium, as they will be playing the rest of their games from the Arizona stadium. Does this move affect the 49ers? I don't know. We will have to see how they come out without some of their top dogs, such as George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo. Can the 49ers put up a fight? One of the ways that I think the San Francisco 49ers can compete in this game is by leaning heavily on their most talented running back, Raheem Mostert. The Bills rank in the top 10 for fantasy running backs to score against. So if you have Raheem Mostert on your lineup, you are happy to be starting him this week and hopefully carrying his team to a victory. Now, Deebo Samuel is back from his injury and he is ready to play. Even without his quarterback, he is putting up wide receiver 1 numbers. He's getting the targets. He has the run after catch ability to be an amazing wide receiver in this league for a long time. On the other side, we have Stephon Diggs, who was brought in from the Minnesota Vikings, and it has paid off big time for the Buffalo Bills. Stephon Diggs has proved that he is the wide receiver 1 on this team, and Josh Allen can sling the rock. Stephon Diggs is yet to have a single-digit fantasy day on the season. There's no surprise why Stephon Diggs has been worthy of a high-round pick. But what's crazy is that he went in the 6th or the 7th or even 8th round in some leagues. I do not think that Stephon Diggs will be slept on again next year. Our next game takes us to the New England Patriots taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers have quickly become one of the most explosive offenses in the league. Their record at 3-8 does not show that ability, but Justin Herbert has the most passes of 20 or more yards. He has 10 touchdowns of such distance. Now, when you think of the New England Patriot defense, you think of solid, bend, don't break, but that has not been the case for the New England Patriot defense this year. They are the 30th ranked team in giving up explosive plays on about 20%. This seems like a dream matchup for Justin Herbert to show on a big stage that he can sling the rock against any team. On the other side, we have Damian Harris, who has shown that he can gain 100 yards if given the touches. He is someone that I consider to be a volume back, who is not necessarily a bell cow because he does not get the touches out of the backfield that you would expect, or the touchdown production that you would like from a running back one. But Damian Harris is someone that if you are desperate for a running back, he is someone that you can feel good about starting this week because the Chargers have been giving up 26 points per game over the last 4 weeks to running backs. Our next game takes us to a NFC heated rivalry with the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have kind of skidded to a halt of recently. What was early on one of the best offenses and dynamite teams to watch has been a team that's losing lately. Is there a reason for that? I think a lot of that can be placed on the shoulders of Kyler Murray. Literally. Ever since his injury to his right throwing shoulder against the Seahawks, Kyler Murray has not been the same guy. In fact, it's even causing him to run less. He has only attempted 10 runs and gotten 46 yards on those last 2 weeks. This injury is causing him to not be as efficient as a thrower and a runner that has created that high floor that we would come to expect of Kyler Murray this year. The beneficiary to that lack of running from Kyler Murray, though, is Kenyon Drake. As we saw early on in the year, Kenyon Drake has been given the touches, but has not produced as we would want for a first-round pick that many of us used for him. Over the last few weeks, Kenyon Drake has scored touchdowns. That's exactly what we wanted. Now, to add to this, Chase Edmonds is no longer stealing all of Kenyon Drake's passing usage. In the last 2 weeks, Kenyon Drake has gotten 7 balls out of the backfield. This is a great statistic that boosts Kenyon Drake's usage and should see a big raise to his floor in the next coming weeks. The Los Angeles Rams are going to look to exploit this Cardinals secondary that has been giving up 40 fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. As we've seen, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are just fine when it comes to sharing the points, as they did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cooper Kupp has been the more flashy name that we've been accustomed to hearing, but Robert Woods has become their number 2, and they've separated themselves from anyone else in this wide receiver core. Both of these guys are slam dunk wide receiver 1 starts for the week, and you can feel good about the targets they receive and the usage that they'll get against an Arizona secondary that is struggling to contain wide receivers. We are heading to the NFC North, where we have the coachless Detroit Lions against the quarterbackless Chicago Bears. All jokes aside, this Chicago Bears quarterback situation is disgusting. I'm sorry to say it, but Mitch Trubisky does not deserve to be a starting quarterback in this league. Can he be a good backup? Sure. Can Nick Foles be a good backup? Yes, he has shown that. But are either of these guys going to be the Chicago Bears quarterback of the future? Absolutely not. It is truly a shame that a wide receiver as talented as Allen Robinson has to deal with a quarterback situation as ugly as this one. Even with this going on, Allen Robinson is the wide receiver 10 on the year. The number of targets that he receives is proving to be a reason that we drafted him high up in our drafts this year. Only one time all year has he had single-digit targets. This is a great number to rely on, and if he ever gets a real quarterback, you better watch out. As for the Detroit Lions, they fired their coach, Matt Patricia, much to the enjoyment of former players, and I'm sure players inside that locker room as well. Matt Patricia was trying to be Bill Belichick. He was not being Matt Patricia. There are too many guys in this league that will see right through that, and you will not get the support of your team if you are not being real and authentic. And I think the Detroit Lions have been fed up with Patricia for long enough that this game could be a huge comeback for them to show what they're capable of. TJ Hawkinson has been a bright spot for the Detroit Lions this year. He is the tight end 3 in a whirlpool of a tight end position group this year. The lowest amount of targets in a game that he has received has been 4. That's a great number for a tight end who is in a pass-heavy offense. The injuries to other pass catchers, such as Kenny Golladay and then running back DeAndre Swift, has been a great boost to DJ Hawkinson's production. This Chicago's Bears defense has given up 6 tight ends with greater than 50 yards. And they've also gave up 8 touchdowns to tight ends. So this is a slam dunk spot for TJ Hawkinson, who is hopefully going to carry you through the fantasy playoffs as a reliable tight end. We have the New York Giants taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The New York Giants will be without their quarterback Daniel Jones after severing a hamstring. There have been no reports yet, but I believe that it'll be stated that he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. So how does that affect the rest of the team? Well, I do not think it's going to get better from here. Although Daniel Jones is not a great quarterback, Colt McCoy did not look good. One shining star for this Giants team has been Wayne Gallman. He is the most talented running back on this team, apart from Saquon, active running back, that we've seen. Wayne Gallman has been finding the end zone the past few weeks. The reason I say this is because the Seattle defense has been giving up 24 points per game to running backs. So Wayne Gallman could be a sneaky running back 2 play that gets you into the fantasy playoffs. Week after week, we have to ask ourselves, who is going to pop off? Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf? This is the question we have to ask ourselves every single week of the year, because both of these guys have such an amazingly high ceiling that we always want to be a part of that. If you have either of these guys on your roster, you are starting them each and every week and hoping that it's their time to shine. Chris Carson returned to the backfield last week and split touches with Carlos Hyde. This is not a trend that I expect to see moving forward. As Chris Carson gets more and more healthy and gets those reps under his belt, he is going to get back into his bell cow usage that we are used to seeing from Chris Carson. With the last game for Prangle's picks for Week 13, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. A big point of this game is going to be the Green Bay Packers run defense. Can Miles Sanders step up? Will someone else? Miles Sanders has seen a gradual snap count percentage drop over the last 3 weeks. Is this something to be concerned about? I do think so. In the past, we have seen the Philadelphia backfield perform as a running back by committee. That is not what we want to see for a top running back that was drafted in the first or second round of drafts this year. If Miles Sanders is given the touches and the backfield looks, he is a running back 1 and can carry a team. Don't look now, but Aaron Rodgers is creeping his way up in the MVP conversation. There are not that many players that you can name behind Patrick Mahomes that are trying to win the MVP this year. Aaron Rodgers is having a career year. He is throwing the ball well. He's moving the pocket well. He's not taking hits and getting hurt. This is the kind of year that you expect to see out of one of the best and most talented quarterbacks in the league. And if he continues on this pace with his schedule remaining, I truly believe that he could be holding up the MVP at the end of this year. I've seen a few people getting concerned with Aaron Jones because of his backfield split with Jamal Williams. I am here to tell you to not panic. Aaron Jones is a league winner because of a few things. Aaron Jones has shown that he can score touchdowns left and right. Look to last year. Look to early this year. He is a touchdown machine when he is given all of the touches in the backfield. And you might say, well, he wasn't. Look at last week. Last week shouldn't even be considered because the Packers were up so much that they allowed Jamal Williams to put up an impressive stat line. As the Packers are looking for a number 1 seed, Aaron Jones is going to be in the game more and more, which only gives him more chances to score. So Aaron Jones is a top 5 running back the rest of the year. All right, guys, that is all I have for Week 13. Make sure to leave a comment. Ask any start-sit questions that you might have. Thank you so much for listening to Redbird Fantasy's first Prangle's Picks. I look forward to doing many of these in the future, looking back on where I'm wrong, where I was right, and hopefully winning you some fantasy football games. This has been Redbird Prangle. I hope you enjoyed our first pick'em. Have a great day.